Namaskar, a warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Prashant Kumar Sinha bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. The headlines: New Delhi asks Islamabad to vacate all areas under its illegal occupation. India says it will press for reformed multilateralism, which makes United Nations more representative of contemporary realities. UN Secretary-General calls for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Nagorno-Karabakh conflict zone. Campaign reaches its zenith for US presidential elections. Over 90 million Americans cast their vote. UK announces 1-month lockdown to curb COVID-19 pandemic, and Lewis Hamilton wins Emilia Romagna Grand Prix for a record-extending 93rd Formula One victory. India has firmly rejected the attempt by Pakistan to bring material changes to a part of Indian territory under its illegal and forcible occupation. New Delhi said instead of seeking to alter the status of Indian territories, Pakistan should immediately vacate all areas under its illegal occupation. The statement has come in response to media queries on remarks by Pakistani Prime Minister in Gilgit today regarding his government's decision to accord provincial status to the so-called Gilgit-Baltistan. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Anurag Srivastava said Pakistan has no locus standi on territories illegally and forcibly occupied by it. He reiterated that Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, including the area of so-called Gilgit-Baltistan, are an integral part of the country by virtue of the legal, complete and irrevocable accession of Jammu and Kashmir to the Union of India in 1947. External Affairs Minister of India S. Jaishankar has said that India will press strongly for reformed multilateralism that would make the UN more representative of contemporary realities. He was delivering Sardar Patel lecture on All India Radio on Saturday. Dr. Jaishankar said India will enter the UN Security Council for the 8th time as a non-permanent member on the 1st of January 2021. He said with the passage of time, the case for a permanent presence has only grown stronger. Dr. Jaishankar said India will approach the world in a more proactive way in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. He added that Indian diplomacy will be more integrated with the defense and security needs. It will be more supportive of the economic and commercial interests, more aware of the technology capabilities and offerings, and more sensitive to the diaspora. The External Affairs Minister said the COVID-19 pandemic has now shored up the perception of India as the pharmacy of the world. Speaking about India-China border tensions, the minister said to restore normalcy, agreements between the two countries must be respected scrupulously in their entirety. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has fully supported the call of the co-chairs OSCE Minsk Group for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict zone. The UN chief condemned the continued violence in the conflict zone. He reiterated that both Azerbaijan and Armenia have the obligation under international humanitarian law to take utmost care to spare and protect civilians and civilian infrastructure. He urged the warring parties to engage in substantive dialogue for a peaceful and sustainable settlement of the conflict. A record of more than 90 million Americans have already cast their vote till Saturday as the campaign reaches its zenith for the presidential election 2020. President Donald Trump and Democratic contender Joe Biden launched their final phase of campaigning across the battleground states. President Donald Trump will stage 10 rallies, 5 a day, making it the campaign's busiest stretch. Joe Biden will campaign today in Pennsylvania, a state that may decide the winner of the election. The high number of early voters, about 65% of the total turnout in 2016, reflects intense interest in the contest with 2 days of campaigning left. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. In Hong Kong, 7 pro-democracy opposition politicians, including 4 sitting lawmakers, were arrested today over charges related to a scuffle that broke out in its Legislative Council in May this year. Hong Kong police said they were arrested on charges of contempt and interfering with members of the city's Legislative Council on the 8th of May. More from our Beijing correspondent in this report.
According to local media reports, authorities made a series of early morning arrests of politicians from the Democratic Party, the Labour Party and the Pan-Democratic camp. Police said the 7 were charged under a law governing conduct in the chamber, an offence that carries up to 12 months in prison. The 7 were later released on bail and were expected to be produced in a court on Thursday. Those arrested were among a group of pro-democracy legislators who tried to storm the chairperson's seat in the Legislative Council after pro-Beijing councillors forcibly installed one of their politicians as a committee leader following months of deadlock. Anshuman Mishra for World News, All India Radio, Beijing.
Now let's take a look at the coronavirus updates. According to WHO data, the number of infected cases has crossed 45.67 million worldwide. Israel began human trials for its COVID-19 vaccine on Sunday. In Sri Lanka, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has made several concrete decisions to curb COVID spread without disturbing public life and the economy. India continues to report a trend of steadily declining active cases. The active cases have dropped dramatically to only 6.97% of the total positive cases of the country, demonstrating a steady falling percentage of the total cases. In the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has ordered the nation back into a one-month lockdown. At a news conference in London, Johnson said that the lockdown across England would start from midnight on Thursday morning and last until December 2nd.
From Thursday until the start of December, you must stay at home, may only leave home for specific reasons, including for education, for work, let's say if you cannot work from home, for exercise and recreation outdoors with your household or on your own with one person from another household, for medical reasons, appointments, and to escape injury, to shop for food and essentials, and to provide care for vulnerable people or as a volunteer. I'm afraid non-essential shops, leisure and entertainment venues will all be closed.
Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, has asked the airport and port authorities to ensure that all inbound passengers are tested for COVID-19. They will be put under compulsory quarantine. 1,568 new cases of coronavirus were reported in Bangladesh on Sunday. Algerians are voting in a referendum on Sunday. It is meant to cement constitutional changes pushed by President Abdelmajid Tebboune as a way to turn the page on last year's popular unrest. The new constitution includes presidential term limits and more powers for the parliament and the judiciary. The referendum is seen as a test of strength for both Mr. Tebboune and the opposition Hirak protest movement that brought thousands of people onto the streets weekly to demand radical change in the constitution. Moving on to sports, in rugby union, Six Nations England won the Six Nations Championship after France beat Ireland 35 to 27 points. Ireland would have taken the crown if they had beaten France by 6 points or more. Lewis Hamilton won the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix on Sunday for a record-extending 93rd Formula One victory. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern's Labour Party on Sunday signed an agreement with the Green Party to form government in the Pacific nation. Ms. Ardern earlier this month had secured the biggest election victory for the Labour Party in half a century. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let's listen to Vaishnava Jan by artists from Bangladesh. And with that, we end this bulletin. See you at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.